Missing from. Okay, welcome everyone. Here we are. We're at Lynn's house. So we're going to chair today's call. And do you want to do a little alignment?
I can do a little alignment. So today I'm going to just come into the space, just drop in, take a few longer breaths. So breathing out a little bit longer than you breathe in. Trying to breathe out and in through the nose, which is much better for you. Letting the shoulders come down, letting ourselves come into the heart space. And thank you all for being here, and let's thank the universe for providing this wonderful day. It's bright and sunny here. Thank you for the sun, the clear skies. Thank you for the hard ground to walk on today. It's been a pleasure to walk today on such solid, firm ground and feeling it supporting, crunching a little under our feet. Thank you that although it's very cold outside, we are snugly and warm inside. So thank you for providing that heat, the energy that's behind that comes through us all. Thank you for the animals in our lives, the pets that we have, chickens that provide the food, any animals that are providing food around the country. Thank you for their company. Thank you for the birds in the garden and the squirrels and all the other little animals that are keeping us connected to our Mother Earth. And thank you for this connection, for the technology that enables us to come together, and also for the motorized technology that allows us to come together into the physical from much greater distances than we used to be able to. And thank you for the opening of everybody's hearts, the great awakening, for the energy that's coming in, that's pouring in now from the universe and the sun, and up-leveling us all in exciting, bumpy, wonderful, sometimes a little bit scary ways, but it is a wonderful up-leveling, and we're lucky to be alive in this time. And just one big thank you. And let's come back and see each other again on the screen. Hello everybody. Hello. It's really nice to meet you. Hello, a couple more joined. Hello, Richard. Heaveno. Oh, sorry. I can never get used to your terminology. I say, oh yeah, or in our terminology, it's A up.
A up, ducks.
You're all right. A up, me duck.
I love the way that we're both in grey today. We're doing a Marianne Williamson. We've got the Gravitas grey on.
I have got the Gravitas grey. That's it. I hadn't thought of it, but there we are. I went for blue socks, if that helps.
So can I just open with a little update, because I'm super excited, and I do believe that the guides and angels and spirit is absolutely egging me on, because I discovered yesterday, quite by chance, that there is a by-election in the Bakewell ward for the local council space that was won by the Con party last May. And it was buried, this notification was buried so deep in the Derbyshire Dales Council, District Council website. It was almost like you had to kind of like dig with a shovel to get to it. And I happened to come across this thing. It's not really in the public domain. And I think they just wanted to slip quietly a replacement in for the guy who did get elected, who didn't want to stand, who wanted to retire. So I think that they egged him on to stand, knowing that he would sail to victory, because he is quite a respected long-term businessman in Bakewell, and then slip in a replacement under the radar a few months down the line. But I discovered it. It was announced on the 12th of January. The closing date is the 26th of January, and the election, if contested, is the 22nd of February. So it's very interesting how they how they get this very narrow window, probably the most narrow window possible, hoping that no one will know about it and they can just slip it through. It's very sneaky. So I do feel that I have some guides and spirits on my side, and I will be standing once again as an independent, Rachel Elnor Love, standing for the values of liberation, opportunity, vitality and empowerment in this election, and also as East Midlands Mayor and as Member of Parliament for Derbyshire Dales in the general election. I'm going all out, all guns blazing, and it's a great opportunity because through doing this election, this by-election, it gives me an opportunity to promote the East Midlands Mayor and MP in that collateral, and to ask for support and donations and help, and just to get the energy moving. So I'm super excited today. Yay! And I really feel so energized. As you said, the energy is moving. It does feel like it's moving fast. We're headed into the dragon year. The dragon energy is already coming in. We'll be fully in place by Saturday, the 10th of February, which is the first, like the new moon, when the dragon energy is fully in, but it's already started coming in at the winter solstice. So the energy has started to speed up, and it all feels very auspicious. So that's my little update, and we're obviously welcome, wishing to hear from all of you. Julie, do you want to come on and give an update from where you are? I know that you've got some amazing news about Andrew Bridgen.
Right, so I met up with Andrew Bridgen MP for he's Northwest Leicestershire. I went to Colville and met him nearly 2 weeks ago now, and I'm now a campaign officer for him, and I'm pleased that it's come out how much support is being given over 14 years with the post office scandal, and he's obviously done quite a lot over the last few years to do with the COVID excess deaths and things like that, and vaccination harms. So I'm sort of promoting him as much as feels right too, and I will be delivering leaflets for him, which I'm used to delivering leaflets, having done my own candidacy. And I know he's preparing one to help people know the different things he's done through his life, and I know Rachel will do an amazing video promoting her and what she's been doing in her life as well. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with people as well. So I'm in effect a campaign officer for you as well, Rachel, and I will be standing myself as well. And other than that, I'm continuing to link with local people in the different groups that I'm doing voluntarily as a complementary therapist, and it's amazing to hear some of the stories of what people go through in everyday life and how they've become slaves to the system because of having to claim benefits and things like that, and what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, and even having access to their bank accounts because of them being on benefits, and to find out what they're spending their money on. And so I'm really glad that I've chosen to do that role, because it's giving me even more insights into what people are going through. Yeah. Is that enough, Rachel?
Yeah, so Julie, I have put out a lot of support for Andrew Bridgen, and I also shared on Rachel Speaks Out his the excess deaths talk, which I think was on Monday in Westminster Hall. They wouldn't air it in the main House of Commons. Also, Azim Malhotra, I know he was in the audience for that, and he's said that he's spoken to two people high up in the government who have said that the reason why they've delayed the COVID inquiry is because it would bring the government down if the people found out about what had gone on. Now, I've had a bit of a backlash in the Rachel Speaks Out channel that Andrew Bridgen, the classic thing, he's controlled opposition, he's a shill, he voted in favour of it. And I've basically said, you know, if we want to wake people up, we have to be willing to offer redemption to those people who maybe were in the programme and asleep and MK Ultra'd and who woke up. So could you just speak to that, Julie, just about Andrew Bridgen, because he did vote for the NHS mandatory jabs, I think, and he also had them himself. So could you just speak a few words in his support for his redemption, shall we say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he has voiced so much, not only in Parliament, but from what I can gather, he's got contacts in different countries in the world that are really standing up to help people to learn about the adverse effects of vaccinations. I mean, he had a severe reaction after his second vaccination, and that, I think, is what really woke him up to what was happening. And I think that helped him to realise just the dogma of what is so wrong in what's happening. And also when he talks about the post office scandal, there's a lot of parallels with what he's gone through in that, and the fact that he was used to the fact of trying to contact mainstream media and for them to get messages out about that, and he knew how that was closed down. And so I think because of those experiences, he's had to know that certain things might happen or not happen. And so he's got tools in his kit that he's doing lots in the background that people won't know about, but we need to keep promoting him and his stance as best we can. And as Rachel says, some people will have sort of had certain approaches at different times in life, and then things happen, and then you realise that you shouldn't have done that or whatever. And yeah, I don't know what else to say really, but he's definitely voicing.
Can I come in on that?
Yeah.
I must admit, when Andrew Bridgen joined Reclaim, I went down the, oh yes, I see, he's a media career, maybe a bit controlled opposition. He also, in a way, I also felt a little bit showed his true colours by voting for mandatory vaccines, and that really jars with me that anyone would vote for imposing something on someone that they didn't want. So for me, the big thing that Andrew needs to show that he has learned is the danger of violating people's freedoms, the danger of imposing, however well-meaning, imposing something on someone that they do not want, violating someone else's sovereignty, body autonomy, whatever it is. You don't do it. I think that should have been a big lesson for the whole of Parliament, that you do not do. It is not in their power. It's not in their gift. It's unlawful. Exactly. It is not their right to violate people in this way, to tell people what to do. I think that's the big learning thing, perhaps for all of them, right across the board. It's not up to them to tell us what to do.
They're public servants.
Look how fallible they are. Look how fallible. Take that lesson and show that that is not what you're there for. You're there to serve, to provide services to make our lives easier, so that we don't have to go out building roads. We don't have to go out worrying about things. And even if you don't want, you can even send them to a school and get send kids to schools and get them babysat, and that's all very nice, but don't force anybody to do any of this. It's not in your power. What you're there to do is to help us thrive. And at the moment, I think it's pretty obvious that Parliament's not doing that. It's a malign force. It's actually acting against us. So this isn't just incompetence now. It's now acting against, which is the reason most of us have got political, I think. It's, have gone down that route. Now I'm looking at all sorts of things, and I know a lot of you are, from the grassroots up. So I'm particularly at the moment have sprung into hemp in a big way, hemp building, hemp for everything, and I'm hoping to start production, but I'm investing in that as well. So that's going to be my thing, developing hemp for a while as a really good building material. And it just happens, it just happens to tick quite a lot of the carbon zero boxes, because it's carbon sequestering. Now, for me, there's not enough carbon in the world. We're on the verge of plants starting to struggle with the lack of carbon dioxide. But, you know, we can always produce more of that, can't we? But it's amazing how sometimes, you know, I'm going, oh, look, we can slot that in there. We can use that little tick box there and get this really great material off the ground. Because so many medicinal properties, and I've been looking into that recently. I'm sorry, I'm digressing, but it was quite interesting. My husband has got involved with it, and he's gone back and looked at the history, and in 1903 it was banned in this country. Just, you know, and he's like, isn't that funny? Just at the time the Rockefellers are starting to bring out all their oil-based products, just at the time they're wanting pharmacy to go down the oil-based route and call everything, call traditional medicine, they call it alternative and woo-woo and all that sort of thing. So it was a really interesting time. I would just love to know what's gone on there. Not that it really matters because the past is so gone, but yeah, it was suddenly, you know, suddenly an act of parliament. Where did it come from? Who voted for it? Why would they vote for it? Why suddenly ban something that was so useful, making rope, clothes, bags? It wasn't particularly used for mind altering in this country. That's not particularly a cultural thing here. Our varieties, or land races as they're called, our varieties tend to be more fibre, but also so useful for so many things. Anyway, that was my sorry, back to Andrew Bridgen.
Yeah. So on what you've just said, I don't know if you've heard of the Cancer Act, but I mean, the Cancer Act stops people like complementary therapists being able to say that we can help people to be cured of cancer even, and we're just not allowed to say it. So there's lots legislation wise that we need to get changed, and I've just been looking this morning at legislation to do with supposedly us needing so many more houses in the United Kingdom. We don't need so many more houses, and I know of more and more people that have got loads of money that have got more than one property. So why on earth do we need more houses building and taking away our green fields? But no, it's interesting that you say that Andrew Bridgen had actually voted for the mandating, and hopefully he's learned from that. And I think from what he says in the different meetings and interviews that he's in these days, he does seem to have learnt from that, and we can only hope that he has. I'm assuming he was in the position that a lot of pressure was put on him, but thank goodness he didn't give in to the pressure, since he has been voicing for us that even to get paid off with significant amounts of money that he could have taken to shut up. And I don't know quite why he's chosen to go independent rather than with the Reclaim party, but he's made that decision, and I feel it's a good decision for him to be independent.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think apart from the fact that he voted, and I hope he's really learnt from that. That's the big takeaway for me, that he needs to show to bring me round. But I think generally speaking, there are going to be a lot of people who took the vaccine for various reasons, who have only recently discovered that there is any problem with any of this, who are perhaps, I get occasionally people saying things like about EVs, electric vehicles. They haven't made the connections anywhere else, but they're really not happy about that. But everyone's on this sort of journey and on this spectrum, and I think they're heading the right way. I can't see any people going backwards into, there are some people gripping like hell onto the, the old ways, the status quo, if you like, and clinging to the security of what they know. But nearly everybody is making some progress in that direction. They're all going to be on a spectrum. Andrew Bridgen may not have taken as much of a heart-led spiritual approach as I personally will do and want to see, and what I'd want to see in a future Prime Minister, for example. But he is, I think, a very sincere man. I hope he's learnt, and he is speaking out. And even before this, I did respect him from the post office thing, because my parents were sub postmasters, they could easily have been affected by this scandal. A lot of people were. It drove people to suicide. Some ended up in prison because they, at the time, the post office was a very important part of government. You had to sign the Official Secrets Act. You were entrusted with the Queen's mail, and a lot of the transactions, it was very, you were considered very important. You were very arrestable. Anything that went wrong, I remember adding up the reckoning sheets, which I probably shouldn't have done. And if you were, even a penny out, we had to go back and find it. We went through all sorts. So for those sort of people to be accused of what they were, stealing in the way that they were, was really mortifying for them. Really a very terrible thing. So I was, we were lucky. My parents point blank refused to go down the computer routes. They were only a few years from retirement. Absolutely not doing it. And the post office had to work around it because they couldn't get in their house to do anything about it. So yes, we stuck to our non-digital route and stuck to writing things down meticulously on a register. Every postal order, every license, everything. But a lot of people did go down that route, and it was a very terrible time, and it wasn't noticed by a lot of people. And he was one of those that did actually stick up for the postmasters, and it was completely brushed under the carpet. It was like, no, nothing to see here, no problem here, no, our computer's lovely, it's all fine. It was an absolute, a terrible thing. Looks like she's having an endoscopy, doesn't it? Frances, we could. We look around it every so often. We see sort of this red and things. It's
the inside of Frances.
What are we seeing next?
So let's just open the call. So if anyone wants to speak, put your hand up either manually or on the symbol at the bottom of the screen, because we could easily talk all hour long, the three of us as usual. So we don't want to hog the call, but we will if you let us. So please put your hand up if you would like to speak. So Carrie, yeah.
Let's see if Carrie can unmute. Have you got the unmute, Carrie?
Did hear her speaking earlier.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, sorry. I've got a bit of a virus, so I'm not feeling fantastic at the moment. But anyway, just following Lynn about hemp that you were talking about, there is a hemp farm down in Cornwall. It's been there for some time, and the guy, I think I may have mentioned it before, he makes hempcrete bricks, and he's actually building a house from it because it has amazing insulating properties, and you don't need a sort of inner boarding or anything. You just lime plaster over it on the inside. I don't know, maybe I should contact him actually and find out how he's progressing, because he's obviously, had a lot of opposition and legislation and all that stuff as well. And there was one other thing something that you just said, Lynn, recently, and oh God, sorry.
So I was going on about postmasters.
Yeah, and something after that.
Andrew Bridgen.
Yeah, I can't. Oh, sorry. I know it was.
All right.
But anyway, not to worry.
Can I just say thank you for the lovely card you sent of the scene of Cornwall? I haven't.
Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. I didn't expect you to. No, good. Yeah, well.
Beautiful. It was really lovely. I was like, oh, that's nice.
We didn't have a car. Our car's been in and out of the garage, so we were sort of, Christmas was last minute, and I ran out. I didn't have any cards. I didn't have any stamps, and well, it's a long story. But anyway, I won't bore you with it. Yeah.
All right.
So down here, I've heard that we're going to get a mayor.
Of course you are.
Because Cornwall is a place where people are creative and they think outside the box, so they're trying their best to,
Might actually work really well down there. It might do if you can
get an independent.
Get an independent in.
I don't know. I think it could be somebody that they're putting in from.
You can't just jettison someone in. That's got to be an elected
person.
Oh,
really? Oh, right. I thought
all the other ones are. They're all elected, aren't
they? If it's
they?
under the Devolution Act, I mean, this is the interesting thing, because I've been looking deeply into the all of these alleged devolution, And so what the government has done is they've dangled this huge carrot of like billions of pounds to get all of the leaders of the councils to agree to putting in this mid layer of government. And all of those leaders of the council, certainly in our area, are all Con and Labour, Con Party and Labour. And so essentially they're all World Economic Forum, parachute in a mayor with, and the board of that devolved level of government, that local government, will be the leaders of the councils plus the mayor. So it will be a very small group of people, all completely, if the mayor is also Con or Labour, that it will be an open door for them to squander the entirety of those billions of pounds of devolved money from the government towards things like ULEZ, 15-minute cities, and all of the rest of the nonsense, and just to bulldoze it through. It's the way they're going to bulldoze it through, because they know they won't be able to get it agreed by all of the disparate local councils underneath. It will be too difficult to get it through. That's why they're doing it. And it's really sneaky what's happening, and you can just see right through it. So that's why it's so important, because the mayor cannot bulldoze anything through, but the mayor can block every single decision. I read that in the documentation, and that is their power. So an independent mayor can block all of this World Economic Forum nonsense from being bulldozed through, and that's why it's so important for us to stand, or for an independent to stand, who is aware of what is going on, so that that can be stopped. And all of that money, all of the billions of pounds which are of this funding, which is over a 30-year period, so it's something like 13 million per year, 30 million per year over 30 years. All of that money can be spent wholly with local independent businesses and local community projects. And imagine how much affordable housing and support for local businesses could be generated by putting all of that money into local businesses and local communities, as opposed to these big corporate surveillance systems, essentially, like spent in China, importing loads of cameras and digital apparatus to control the people. So that's why it's so important for us to stand and to be elected as independent mayors to stop this happening. Sorry, I'm on my soapbox again, but it's very important.
It is, and you'll see that they've chosen regions that are quite a lot bigger than constituencies. So in theory, at least, and it is actually quite possible, you can have some sort of connection with your local MP. You can go to them, visit them, you can make appointments with them, you can see them in the tea shop, as I sometimes do. It is possible to come across your local MP. These regions will obviously be quite a lot bigger than a constituency. So, for example, Rachel will be standing for the
constituencies in that one.
Rachel will be standing for the East Midlands, which is quite a large region.
Huge.
So people are not going to have direct access to this mayor.
2 million people.
Yeah, you're not going to have direct access. They're not going to care about the individuals.
They will to me. I'll do weekly public meetings all around the area.
But generally speaking, one of the reasons they've chosen these this sort of area is it's big enough to be impersonal and be unaccountable, and small enough for them to control the person in power, for them to control them directly. So it's sort of, for them, it's an ideal size. It gets it away from national government, which which might, like you say, you've got to have too much agreement there. You've got to have lots of people agreeing. Now, we think national government's pretty easily manipulated, but it will be nothing compared to how easily the mayor of an individual region. Look at Sadiq Khan.
Well, they're bulldozing this through while they've got this huge majority, the Con Party, so that because they know they're going to lose it, that's why they're bulldozing all these things through before they lose power.
Yeah. They're also housing. There's all this housing estates going up in between beautiful villages with no proper infrastructure, and they just, everywhere you look, every time you go out, there's more building work going on. It's quite impressive.
It's a huge money making. I mean, this is the planning authorities, it's just a massively corruptible, because they've got the ability to grant planning permission, and you grant planning permission over some farmland into building land, and suddenly it goes from £10,000 an acre to, you know, £1 million or whatever.
And there's slightly interesting development here. A local small holding, it's actually quite big. They have got into financial difficulties, so they're having a meeting and they're asking people if they will become sort of like a cooperative and buy into it, which might be quite an interesting project to get involved in, because it's all about food security, which is going to be, I think, really important, especially in the near future.
I don't think it's financial difficulties, it's just too big for them.
And sorry, the voice from the
voice of
the
God
void.
spoken.
Yeah, food security is big this year.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get things sorted out on this park home as well, and get community. You know, we've started it through the Crazy Hat Theatre, but it's kind of developed from there, and we're kind of more aware now of what our neighbours need, and you know, joint sort of ventures of car share, and I don't know, just all sorts of things. If somebody's ill, you know, then and they're on their own, then we do a rota and make sure we keep an eye on them and all the rest of it. So it's slow, but it's kind of happening. And before I started the theatre group up, nobody really knew anybody, and some people were just locked away in isolation, probably, you know, after the big C, they were just frightened to come out. But now we're starting to know everybody, which is great. So yeah, there's lots of other things, but I don't want to bore you with it, but it's happening.
It's happening.
So many groups are joining, and I went to a meeting on Sunday to support the Freedom Alliance, because a site where there's a lovely cafe and a building where there's lots of community things going on, the council have given a month's notice, and they're closing it all. And we don't know what they're going to use it for, but we've heard a whisper that there's lithium there, which is horrendous. And then all these people who meet regularly and with their families and their children, they've got to find somewhere else to go, which we will, of course. But it's, you know, there's lots of things going on. But one of the nicest things, I think, the best things, is a group called themselves Dead Pole. And they have actually sawn through loads of cameras, you know, the ones on the yellow. There's at least 5 or 6 they've done.
We can't possibly condone
Goodness
that.
me!
How
Appalling!
outrageous!
Yes. Oh dear. Oh no!
Outrageous.
I mean, how much can you buy a saw for now?
No, it's terrible. We can't possibly condone that.
The funniest thing is that they're dressed up as Spider-Man in Spider-Man costumes. So that's giving a message to people. I mean, obviously you get comments where people say, oh, what about road safety? But when you're putting in a camera where you've got parking permanently on one side of the road and speed bumps, why would you need a camera as well? Because you can't go fast. Well, we know why they need a camera, but you know, but some people have got the wrong idea and think it's to save children's lives. But if that was near a school, that would make more sense. Or if it was a 20 mile an hour near a school, but they're just through every village now, as you probably got the same there. Yeah.
It's, to me, it's just a massive money making scheme, all of it. Speed cameras, bus lane tickets, ULEZ. I mean, I've been researching ULEZ in London. Someone did a Freedom of Information Act request in 1 year, over the past year. This was in 2023, this Freedom of Information request. They sucked And it literally is sucking money from the people, £224 million in fines and charges, simply to drive on roads which are public highways, which we, the people, own. It is absolutely outrageous. Right, Julie?
And if they
Just
really
about
cared about,
potholes.
yeah, if they really cared about the roads, they'd be fixing the potholes and
I
they'd
thought
fix
she'd
them
talk about
robustly.
potholes.
Yeah, and
Mr.
this is
Pothole.
where I don't know what it's like where you are, but they get us to have an MOT done on our cars, but they're not even making the roads safe. And also the
Yes.
Severn Trent are doing lots of work in the Mansfield area, actually narrowing the roads down, and even the way they're putting these curb things in that are supposed to be for flood prevention is making the roads actually more dangerous for people to. And I know of someone who sort of managed to clip it the other day and ended up on the top of it. And so and the way they sort of put the marking on the road, the side of the road that they'd done that on, it wasn't even wide enough to be able to drive even my vehicle. And so if you've got a lorry or something, it's just ridiculous. But also, we really need to not even be promoting cameras near schools, or even this 20-mile-an-hour speed limit thing, because they're trying to use those for us to get used to it. And I know with camera wise, I mean, if we were really that bothered about energy, we wouldn't have all these cameras up.
Yeah.
But I had someone that tried to break into a bungalow that I was buying, and I got a full frontal of him, including his face. And yeah, and they didn't even manage to arrest him. And they will have known who he was. He was only in flip-flops. They will have known who he was, and they never even got back to me. So they are not doing this. And the only reason I got a camera there was because at the time my daughter had just been broken into, living very close to there. So I thought, oh, I better get a camera. And I'm so glad I did, because if I hadn't have had that experience of having a full frontal, full face and everything of this person that they then did not even arrest, it just shows that we are not having these cameras for that reason. And it is wrong. Yeah.
Okay, does anyone else want to speak? Otherwise we'll go to the birthday boy, Roger, who was 80 this week.
Oh,
Who had a surprise party. I didn't know about this, but someone sent me the pictures of you with your cake, Roger. So let's come to you. I think Roger's doing a full frontal too, showing us his.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, Rachel, it's difficult for me to button up my buttons on the shirt because of my inability with the left hand after the stroke. Do you understand what I mean?
yes, yes.
Okay.
My fingers don't work very well because of the stroke I had. So it's very difficult to button up the shirt.
Okay. I thought you were going to show us your war wounds from being in the NHS.
Well, that's all there is.
You went in with a cough and came out with a heart monitor.
Well, yeah, I didn't even have a cough. I just fell on the floor.
Tell us the story for anyone who hasn't been following what happened, the sequence of events, Rog.
Okay, right. Well, on the 1st of January, I knelt down to do some work which required me to kneel down. And as I tried to get up, I keeled over, and the next thing I knew, I was waking up and able to press my pendant here, which gave an alarm to tell the people that I was in distress. And about 4 hours later, the ambulance people came and they took me to hospital. I'm sure they asked me if I wanted to go there. Of course I did, because I just went on their recommendation. Because I have other injuries as well, on my knees, for example. anyway, so we got there and they tested me for COVID and it was positive. And after a few days, they decided that it was negative. Anyway, so I stayed there until Tuesday and they brought me home and everything was well organized. The people in the hospital were extremely courteous and kind. I couldn't fault anything they did. The food was adequate, not plentiful, adequate. So I've got no real complaints about the NHS.
You have missed out a huge chunk there, though, Rog, because you did end up having this heart monitor fitted.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what I've just said. This is where this is fitted here, and that's an extremely important device because it actually remembers the activity of my heart before a given point in time, and also transmits the necessary information at that point in time. So it's called I've forgotten what they call it now. Remember, is it a remember or something like that? And anyway, it's an amazing device. It communicates information about my heart activity by GPS. So it's a pretty good thing.
It's your own personal track and trace device that you've got.
Well, yes, but on balance, you've got to assess all these things on balance. Is it doing me more good than harm, or more harm than good? I mean, who knows?
Well, there is an appropriate use for this sort of thing, isn't there? And it makes sense. I mean, we're getting very paranoid. I'm like, no, nothing to track.
I would be paranoid.
No GPS, nothing on my phone, nothing. And that's fine because I'm not at risk. I've had no episodes that involve me keeling over and being on my own, unable to access any care. But if there is a risk, it makes absolute sense to use the technology to, first of all, know where you are and be able to sort you out. It's when it's used in a malevolent way, isn't it? And we're all worried about that at the moment. We're all saying, all questioning why the technology is being used at all, because so much of it is being used so badly to take away our rights and freedoms. It should be used to enhance our life, to enhance our quality of life, to give you independence, really, which it clearly is doing. It means you can go out and you can be secure in the knowledge that if something happens, somebody can find you.
Yeah.
So that's
Julie's raised her hand.
Yeah.
Look, Julie, do you want to add something to this?
Yeah, we need quality of life, and I know certain people really struggle with some of the electromagnetic field interruptions that they're doing with different things. And I know I keep getting adverts on my phone about Vodafone, and you can get it 5G for free. And we don't really understand what all these different things are actually doing for quality of life to us. So it really concerns me when I've got people telling me that they've got different devices that are feeding back to the healthcare professionals who won't even promote complementary therapies that are very ancient for proper quality of life and healthcare. And so it's a choice that I wouldn't be making. And also, I know at Christmas, some people that I was with were so busy tracking people on their phones, and they wanted me, because I live on my own, to be tracked so that just in case I hadn't been seen for a couple of days or something. And so I've sussed out what they were doing and managed to find what was on my phone that potentially I could let them track me on. And I showed it to them and I said, right, am I being tracked by anyone on this? And they confirmed that I wasn't. And then they said, right, all you need to do, Julie, is send us a link. And I said, absolutely no way. I am not having anyone tracking me. And they said, yeah, but you might not be seen for a few days. And I said, yeah, and if I'm dead, that's fine. I do not need to be tracked to see what I'm doing. And I know as a 5-year-old, I used to go out on my own and nobody worried about me, and I made my own way back. I know these days we've got busier roads and everything. Hopefully as we move forwards with this movement, we'll be able to change that whole road system and get it safe, and also empower the children to not be in prison-like schools with these standardized tests that are so ridiculous. So we need to be very mindful of what we're doing with any technology.
Yes.
It is the argument, isn't it? Keeping you safe and looking after everyone, and this keeping everyone safe. It's a very insidious thing that's creeping into everything. A justification to keep everyone safe. We have to have 20-mile-an-hour limits. We have to have cameras everywhere to keep you safe. And it's been, you know, they tried that PSYOP during COVID and it worked on people, so I guess they're applying it to everything now.
And have you seen the Zoe thing that they've got? The kids coming up on the adverts as well on YouTube. This blinking device that you can put on your body that supposedly tells you even what to eat for breakfast. And actually we shouldn't even necessarily be breaking that fast.
Yeah, exactly.
We should be following our bodies as to what feels right for us to have at any particular time. And I just cannot believe how much they're really trying to stop people listening to their own body and taking that intuition in. And when you think of the rubbish that they're putting on our plants and vegetables and everything that we're eating anyway, yet they keep trying to promote that you've got to have them. One man's meat's another man's poison. Each of us needs to follow what we need more instinctively and intuitively at any point in time.
Well, there's big money to be made through this whole AI transhumanist agenda, huge new markets, and that's what it's all about. It's all about big corporations and money, ultimately. All of this, it's a huge new market, and so it's all part of the PSYOP, and it's all World Economic Forum driven. It's you know,
but that they have enough money, to be fair. It's gone beyond that. They now want control.
But also our healthcare system changed when they made nurses degree level.
Yes.
And they lost their proper healthcare caring. And I even know of someone who used to work in the hospital before they had degree level nurses. And then when the degree level nurses came and they were sent to a patient, they said, oh no, I can't do that. I can do the paperwork. I can't do the actual caring for the person. And this is what we're, you know, just because they've got a degree doesn't mean that they're good at what they do, but also they are so entrained. And when you look at the NICE guidelines, they are not good protocol, and they don't even tell you what to do as proper healthcare. So yes, I know the people in the healthcare industry might think they're doing the right thing, but if you think of even Andrew Bridgen, you know, voting for that mandating, people do things for what they think is the right reason, and they might find out later that it's absolutely the opposite to what we need to do. And what we need now is genuine healthcare. We don't need people stressing and having all these negative messages in their daily lives, because all that does is the opposite of placebo. They know that placebo works with positive messaging. We need healthcare in every local community that is genuine healthcare, so we understand our health and get the best health that we can. And people like Joe Dispenza have even had people get their sight back within 2 days of doing some training with him. So we do not need the current NHS approach with healthcare.
It's all about vitality, the V in love.
Yeah, definitely. Get the energy going. So,
anyone else want to speak? Simon, would you like to come on? We haven't heard from you. You're very quiet, unusually quiet. And anyone else?
Because come on, Simon.
We've got 10 minutes left.
What's that mean? Unusually quiet. No, I was just thinking about the Andrew Bridgen thing. I mean, the whole thing about Andrew Bridgen, he's a professional politician, and that's what I'd like to see the back of. I mean, the very idea that, you know, he's made his choices, but in terms of challenging the existing system, what the existing system depends upon in terms of political parties is the party whip system.
Yeah,
that's what we need to be asking, because the whips get the politicians to vote, but where do the policies really come from? That's what we need to be discussing, I feel.
So I did give Andrew Bridgen, Roger, I gave him your trial by jury leaflet. So he has got that. And I said, you know, we hadn't got time to discuss it when we were together, but hopefully he'll be reading it and he'll be able to take some of those ideas forwards for us as well.
But yeah, I think
There's
it's. Sorry.
there's an article in the light paper this week, which also explained about trial by jury.
Yeah, and in
So that
fact,
was
that
interesting.
guy is actually was mentored by Dean, and he has pushed for a trial by jury for his case under Dean's suggestion. So it's quite interesting because I was given the light paper and read that article, and Dean sent me a message saying get hold of it and read it. And this guy, yeah, he basically, the interesting thing was when he got his trial by jury, it was something like an 18-month waiting list to get a trial by jury. They'll try, that's why they try to bulldoze you through the magistrate's court, which you can, it's like a sausage machine. But if you stand in your right for a trial by jury, it's 18 months before you can actually get one. And that goes to show this system depends on compliance to the summary hearings of magistrate courts. And if we all said no, we do not consent to your jurisdiction, I require a trial by jury, we would collapse the entire justice system. And it wouldn't take many people to just say no, I do not consent, I require a trial by jury. It would bring the whole system down.
And Simon, what you were saying about Andrew and how he's sort of part of the system, I can get what you're meaning on that. Having been to Coalville, I was really pleased with how vibrant Coalville itself seemed. So have you got any sort of other concerns that would be helpful for me to know about as to how to help Andrew perhaps realise of the changing? And you can keep contacting me about that.
Sure. Well, I'm more interested now he can help us rather than we can help him. To the extent that, you know, he is an independent with I would say, a significant chance of winning as an independent. So I'd want to know what that means. You know, we're trying to promote independence. What does it mean to be an independent? How does he make his decisions? If he's not whipped by party whips anymore, how is he making his decisions? Who is he consulting?
The people, surely.
Right. So that's what we need to be promoting. You know, this is what does it mean to be an independent? Yeah. We want to support this person. He's jumped ship from the party system. Yeah. This is his experience of being. He didn't jump ship.
He was pushed. Let's be clear. He was thrown out of the Conservative Party on some.
Okay. Because he wouldn't conform. Because he wouldn't conform.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What does that mean? And when he made the decision to endorse the mandate, why? Was that just because he was told and he went along with it at the time, or did he really think about it for himself? And how many of his decisions historically are simply made because he's, you know, vote this way and you turn up and you know,
I will try and have that, yeah, I will try and have that conversation with him now that I know that, because, you know, I'm busy with life as well, and that was one little aspect I hadn't, well, enormous aspect that I hadn't realised about him. But I'm glad that I've met him, because once you've met someone physically and actually going to Coalville to see how vibrant Coalville is very different to any, you know, even online meeting or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he really does seem genuine. He's ex-military. He's also got training, degree level training to do with stuff that helps with understanding the physical body and vaccination stuff. Right. And I mean, there was lots of other things he told me that I can't remember it all.
As well, or he is a businessman as well.
Yeah.
So
well, it was really interesting that he was invited to Davos at the same time, because obviously they were trying to buy him off.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And basically, they were definitely trying to buy him off, and they don't like the fact that he keeps voicing out. But also, thank goodness now, even this week when he had his Parliament thing, there were more people there than even were in the House of Parliament sort of thing that he did earlier. So, but I think this post office stuff as well shows a certain thing about him as well, that he is there to stand up for the people. And because at that time, people didn't realise that it was happening to more than one person. They were all being told that they were the only ones that were involved with this. So
Well, if he wins, he's just potentially the thin end of the wedge, isn't he? You know, an
Very
independent wins.
yeah.
What does that mean for the rest of us?
And that's why I think it is really good that he is independent. And I know in Mansfield, I was really reluctant to be an independent. That was the only reason I was hoping that the Love Party would get recognised, because the independent forum that we've got in Mansfield, they are just part of the system and they are not independent. But now I've had the experience of being separate from the independent forum. I'm a genuine independent. It is completely different, and hopefully that's what I'm helping people to realise locally as well, because basically they've just become a party of their own.
Yeah. And let's not fall into this sort of narrative that he's just a lone wolf, because let's keep on visioning the possibility, and let's imagine this reality that in every constituency, independent candidates feel inspired to stand, that are truly independent and speak out against the system and inspire the lost electorate to vote. So they're not splitting the vote, they're waking up the lost electorate, which in every constituency is by far the majority of people than votes for any single party. And if we can awaken the lost electorate to inspire them, they can make a difference to vote for an independent. The entire two-party system could be swept away at the next general election. And I would love us to keep on speaking to that narrative, visioning that truth, that reality, and that potential, because the people, if the people, or I should say when the people wake up and rise up and vote for an independent candidate that truly represents the people, not party politics, the entire system will collapse.
Yes, and
Your situation, Rachel, can they co-opt at borough level? If there's two candidates, does that mean?
If it's uncontested, the person that is nominated,
Sure.
if there's only one person nominated, and the Con party is definitely going to have put a replacement in, definitely, without a question, because but it's being buried. They don't want it contested. They want to slip this person in slyly, and they're not expecting anyone to stand. And because I stand, it will then have to go to a by-election, and everyone in the ward will have to vote. And it potentially could be me versus Con.
So you're sure about that? If there's two candidates, there has to be an election.
Yes,
has to be, yes,
absolutely.
Yes. But co-opting is a little bit different, Simon. Co-opting is if no one stands, you can ask somebody who you know.
No, it's not. If you've got two or more candidates, if people don't request an election, then the sitting councillors can choose.
It's a by-election.
If two people stand, there's an election.
It says it on the notice.
No,
it says it on the notice, Simon. It says
well, I'm confused. At parish level, there isn't. So
this is council.
That's what I'm trying to determine. At borough level, there has to be an election.
Even on parish level, you only co-opt if there aren't enough people standing. If there are, say, 6 people standing and there's 6 seats, those 6 people get on. If there are 7 people standing, there has to be an election. If there are only 3 people standing, councillors can go to their other people in the parish and say, look, please, we need to fill the council seats. Will you consider coming onto the council? There's no election. We'll co-opt you on. No one stood. That's how it works. So, yeah, co-opting is more for when nobody wants to stand and you need people to fill, you need bottoms on seats. But if a by-election, if there's only 1 seat and 1 person stands, they get it. No contest.
That's what it says in the notice.
If 2 people stand or more, there has to be an election.
It says in the notice, if uncontested, if it's contested, there will be a by-election on the 22nd of February. That's what it says. So it's very clear.
Well, the thing to bear in mind about that, if the turnout is bad at a full election, the turnout's going to be non-existent. So.
Not with my campaigning, Simon.
Well, this is the point.
I'm dragging people out of their homes by their hair to get to vote for me.
You won't need many, will you? This is the point. The turnout.
Well, the challenge that I will have is if it is me versus the Con party, there's enough loyal Con party members that they will be able to rally to keep me out. So I will have to work doubly hard to inspire and motivate as many people as possible to turn out to vote for an independent. Otherwise, the cons will have it on a plate.
In fact, this happened when I stood in this ward here. The local Tory lady, who was then mayor, also just a ceremonial role, was furious that I dared to contest, and she did spend the day going out and getting Conservative members to the polls, saying, you know, I really could lose this, and making sure they got down. She went round to their houses, her and her husband. They went round to the houses and asked them to go and make sure that they voted, because there was this upstart who actually had quite a lot of support in the village and could actually unseat her. So yeah, she was quite aggressive about it. She went and stood outside local primary schools as well, asking people to go and vote, and they said they didn't want to vote for her, and she was like, well, just in that case, spoil your ballot paper. We had the highest number of spoiled ballot papers in the constituency. It was a 12%.
Wow.
Yeah, 12% of spoiled ballot papers. Amazing, isn't it? So, yeah.
Right. Anyway, so anything else you wanted to say? I'm just conscious of time. It's past 1 o'clock. Anyone else want to come on? Simon, are you complete? Julie, Carrie, anyone else want to speak? Do you want to do some closing comments?
Well, I just let's think about. I will do some closing comments, but just some fairly positive news. So, my husband's boss asked what he was doing next year, because he's actually my husband has decided to leave paid work, and we're going to go alone, which is brilliant. So he likes to sort of dig a little bit and give them a little prod. So he said, we're investing in hemp. We're going to build, go and repair this farm that we have. We've purchased, and I'm going to be my wife's campaign manager. And and his boss said, well, let me know, and I will make a donation. I want to encourage independent thinking. He knows me, by the way. And he was very serious about it. So we it's very establishment figures are wanting to see a change. They are wanting things done differently. I think the Davos meeting is happening. I found it quite interesting, the very globalist newsletter that came out that was mentioning it, that was saying they basically were they needed to restore trust. Davos needs to restore trust, the WEF, apparently. Because on the left, they think they're an entitled bunch of billionaires. Yeah, but the right are almost hysterical about them wanting to take over the world and gain control. Well, I'm left and right there then. There we go. Interesting, isn't it? But it sounds like the game is up, that they know the game is up, and they're going to do the best they can to hang on until they die, really, because retribution that might happen. I mean, we're talking about rehabilitation, I think, and restorative justice, but the masses may go down the retribution route. That might be something that they're very scared of, because if the boot was on the other foot, they would. So yeah, it's that Paul is also listening to Question Time, which I refused to listen to, and came up with some interesting, said it was quite interesting. Actual MPs were challenging the narrative on climate. We're saying, well, where is this coming from? What's happening? So I think the game is up generally. We are going to see a lot of establishment figures coming over to this side, and I think there's an element of being a bit, it's quite easy for us. We've been struggling for the last few years. We've had to wake up, we've had to get to grips, we've had to stand outside mainstream society and take the hits, if you like, take the name calling, take the labels, conspiracy theorists and all that.
Anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, we've been a bit ridiculed, and yeah, it's hurt a bit. We've lost, some of us have lost family, though. I personally felt that Christmas especially was a time of great reconciliation for a lot of people. But those of us who've stood outside, we have to be a bit careful, because we're going to be seeing these Johnny-come-latelys, if you like, and perhaps going to feel a little bit hostile, a bit like, who the hell are you? You know, you were on that side, but people are waking up, and they're going to wake up very fast.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be embracing people who are waking up and welcome them. They're not just, some of them are going to wake up very fast. They're going to be confused, angry, really angry, scared. You know, what's been done to them? You know, my poor husband discovered that one of his colleagues didn't wake up. You know, a sudden adult death syndrome thing. That's going to, nearly everybody is probably going to know somebody like that at some point. That happened very recently. It's quite raw for him that one of his colleagues didn't wake up. And it probably jars a little bit with him, because I actually insisted Paul didn't have the vaccine. I said, leave your job, leave it. And it didn't come to that, but he knows that he was just going to go, oh, just have it, you know, I'll just get it over with and done. He was like that, and it was me saying, no, you're not having this. I'm really lying in the sand here. You're not doing it. And he knows, basically, but for the grace of God, it could have been him. And we're going to find a lot of people coming into that situation and being scared and being grief-stricken. Really, it's going to, you know,
it could be a controlled demolition job that is happening. That this is the case. It could be a controlled demolition to try to destroy the government, to bring down the government, to bring down the NHS, to bring down the systems, and they're relying on this hysterical crowd response. And I do feel it's going to require some leadership of those who knew all along to be able to say, here's a different route. The people need to take control, and to not allow it to descend, because that's probably what the World Economic Forum want.
Oh, totally.
So that they can then have
then they can march in with the jackboots.
Control the people. We've got to control the people. There's chaos. There's rioting. The people are out of control. We need to send in the army kind of narrative, and we need to really hold that space of peace and visioning a different possibility. It's going to be a very precarious process.
It is. I mean, it's a great time for us to do, for everybody to become self-sufficient, independent, empowered. You know, even there's the energy stuff. A lot of people now getting their own meters fitted. Apparently, I'm looking at that one. But just doing things ourselves, and just looking at the politicians going, who the hell are you actually? Where did that narrative come from? What that wasn't in a manifesto. Literally nobody has voted for this crap. It's very we just need to let people realise that yes, it's been a load of nonsense, and you know, just stand in your power. It is a load of nonsense, but we can do so much. We can basically exist. Stone Age man could exist and sustain themselves without any help at all, and we can do so much better than that. We have so much more in the terms of resources than that, and technology which we can use, which we don't need to be connected for. So it's all about that. Does Francis want to speak?
Francis, did you want to speak?
Yes, I mean, I don't have to. What you're saying is great.
Please speak.
I was just going to say it's just been a really brilliant meeting, and so inspiring to be back here and listening to what everyone's doing. You know, Rachel, it's absolutely amazing that you're going forward as mayor and MP, and that that someone awake and aware can be in a position that can actually impact on governmental decisions. Yes, you know, it's so brilliant, and I'm just really rooting for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I was going to say as well, I really like Andrew Bridgen, and I think he's a very, very rare specimen, because he's a politician who's honest and has morals, and there just aren't any others, barely. So, you know, and when he first got chucked out of the Conservatives, I was kind of hoping he'd join the Love Party, because it was around about the same time.
Yeah.
We were very new then, weren't we?
I did actually send him an email at that time, but I think I must have been one of many.
Yes, everybody was wanting him. They were all everyone was trying to get him there and Reclaim. Of course, he went down the Reclaim with
Quickly realised it was a mistake.
Well, he was going with the GB News connection, wasn't he?
Okay, yeah,
Lawrence
yeah.
Fox was presenting, and Andrew Bridgen was probably had an eye on his media career
Yeah,
at
yeah,
the time.
true.
So basically, GB News was a bit of a sort of platform for Reclaim, which, as far as I know, is Lawrence Fox. I can't remember. I can't think of any. They've never contested an election. They've never done anything. It seems to be a Lawrence Fox platform. Is my cynical view of that.
Yeah.
But
I see him as a kind of bridge as well. He's bridge by name and bridge by nature, because he's a bridge for the sort of everyday person that isn't so aware of what's actually going on. You know, he's a bridge for that sort of person to wake up and become more clued up to what's actually happening. So yeah, and I'm also very into hemp. Hemp is and I believe that if the farming potential of hemp was realized in this country, we could go so much in the way of being food independent.
Yeah. And we would just stop oil, because so much of the I mean, I think that's a terrible phrase and I can't stand them, but you would stop oil, because we can have hemp oil, we can make clothes from it, we can make pharmaceuticals from it, we can you know, make paper from it, just so many things that we can do.
Filter our water with it. Yeah. Filter our water with it.
Yeah, so we would do that. It would be really trendy. We'd be right on there. But yeah, and I think there is a bit of an element of I don't know why it's suddenly allowed again, hemp. Why it's being promoted again. I'm glad it is. But
well, certainly on the World Unity people, they are promoting it worldwide. And they're really, it's a good movement. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just take the win with that for the minute and not get too suspicious. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and as far as when the government says, "Oh, we need to keep you safe," what they mean is we need to keep you in a state of fear.
Yeah.
So that was my comment on that one. And just one other thing, like the central kind of thing for me that I'm thinking about at the moment is what's going on in Palestine, and hideous as what Hamas did. The reaction to it is way out of proportion, and I'm right behind South Africa and the other countries that have had the guts to stand up and say this is genocide and this goes against the Genocide Convention, and so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
In Israel for a long time. Ethnic cleansing has been happening there for a very, very long time, since the Nakba, as far as I know, when they some people calling themselves Jews basically marched in and evicted people from their homes and killed a load of people. And this was, I mean, way back. I mean, of course we're going back to the Balfour Declaration, aren't we, and Mr. Rothschild getting his hands on Palestine, which the British government had no right to give him in the first place. So yeah, it's I think I was really encouraged with the Israel narrative, although it was horrible, and there was a moment of fear actually where I thought, oh my god, this is it, this is where they're going to start World War III, and you know, there's going to be a lot of angry Muslims in this country who could potentially be utilized to attack other people. So there was a moment there when I went, oh, that's it. But actually I was really impressed that people were just angry, you know, that Israel had happened. They didn't go down the silly flag waving like they did with Ukraine. They were actually going, you know what, that is just such a pile of pants. And they started to actually look into the history. And it was really interesting. And people started telling me about the history of Israel. I was like, no shit, really, because Israel was one thing I was quite fortunate on. I went to school with a Jordanian girl and a Jordanian boy. They were in my year group, and they were Palestinian refugees, as in they were had to move to Jordan and carry on their lives there, and they would tell me all sorts of things. They couldn't go back and visit their grandparents' grave. They weren't allowed into the country. They weren't, the Jews did this to them. The Israelis did this to them and that to them and this to them. And I was like, no, I've seen the pictures. I've seen the telly. I've seen the bombs, and which is ridiculous when you look back. A flipping great big rockety thing parked outside the government building. Oh, it just missed. Oh yeah, of course it did. Which but I was suckered in, and it meant that years later, before any of the COVID stuff, every time I heard about it, I was like, oh, they had a point. They were right, and it was part of something that triggered me to wake up a lot earlier than I would have done, I think. So, yeah, Israel is an absolute disgrace and a really shameful episode of the last century, really, that it was the way it was created, that it was created at all. It used to be a country with large Christian, large Jewish, large Muslim populations who lived together, worked together, very advanced civilization, very important civilization, stable country, and of course, it's now in chaos, with Gaza being the ultimate 15-minute city, if you like, the ultimate surveillance controlled city. So yeah, very very sad what's gone on there.
But it is waking up so many people.
Yeah, people are already it's nudged a whole load of other people into going, what the hell? What the hell is this?
Enough of the shit show. Yeah. It's kind of like, we don't want this, not in our name.
Yeah.
Not in our name.
Not our government, not our prime minister. How come you're there? What's this about bombing Yemen?
And sending billions to Ukraine.
It's like,
as well.
Why are you bombing Yemen? I'm just like, we're bombing, and it always in the
Well,
news.
it's because the Houthi rebels are stopping the ships from delivering the arms to Israel. That's what the Houthi rebels are actually doing. They're stopping the ships which are sailing to try to deliver the bombs and the ammunitions to Israel to kill more people, and that's what they're stopping. And one of our Crestbrook Dale community is based out in the Middle East, and she's completely up and awake about exactly what is going on. They're trying to protect the shipping lanes because the shipping containers are more important than people to this government and to the World Economic Forum, big corporate interests that are essentially backing them. And that's why this government is backing Israel. It's outrageous, and it is not in alignment with what the people want. From my observation of the uprising and we should not be sending all of this money towards war and bombing and also supporting Ukraine when there's people who can't even pay their electricity bills and haven't got enough food and are going to food banks. It's outrageous what's going on.
But it is really showing up the UK for what it is, and the rest of the Western imperialist countries, because we're so obviously, complicit in war crimes. I mean, we have been for a long time, but
the UK is. I think it's no longer we. I don't feel like I'm like, how dare you do that in my name, or how dare you think that I'm on? How dare you make out that you're representing me in any way in this? I am not anything to do with this, and I think we have to say, we're standing with the people. There's people wherever they are who just want to get on with their lives, who just want peace, and
they have a right to live.
They have a right to live. They have a right to thrive, and this is not my government. It's not my prime minister. Not my king. They don't represent me in any way. I mean, neither of them have been elected for even. We haven't even got an elected prime minister. We haven't got an elected king. We've got a foreign secretary appointed by a non-elected lord as a foreign secretary, carrying out all this rubbish. He's put in place by an unelected prime minister who was appointed by a non-elected Wefi king. So yeah, it just shows what an absolute farce.
Corruption.
Yeah,
it's corrupt.
And none of them in any way represent the people of Britain. The people with Britain stand with the people of Israel and the people of Palestine and other people of Yemen and the people who are being you know, our lives are being screwed with as well, not to the extent that they are, but we are under attack in our own.
It's an absolute violation of the people's rights worldwide is what's going on.
Yeah, we're all being attacked, some more graphically and horribly than others, but we are all basically at war with our governments, I think, now.
Yeah.
And L is for liberation.
Yay! Liberation, opportunity, vitality, empowerment. Woo! Love.
Totally.
So, okay, it's 21 minutes past 1. Thank you all so much for coming on. I'm going to stop the recording now, just in case anyone wants to have any comments afterwards. And see you again on the 3rd Thursday of the month, next month at 12 noon UK time. Lots of love.